Please note that the views expressed on this program are those of the individuals who speak them, and not necessarily those of Portsmouth Community Radio, its Board of Trustees, members, volunteers, or underwriters. Good evening and welcome to Spirit Radio. I am your host, Willy Hassell. Along with my co-host, Lynn Nickerson, we will take you on a journey into the unknown, where the paranormal becomes the normal. A journey to a world cloaked in darkness, where reality becomes a thin veil. So sit back, relax, and join us as we venture into the shadows, the darkness, the unknown, and back. And good evening once again, and welcome to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. I am your host, Willy Hassell, your gatekeeper to the dark side, your guide to the realm of the unknown, the unseen, the unthinkable. And right here, of course, is the always lovely, the always mystical, and the very mysterious Lynn Nickerson. Good
very
evening.
Mysterious. Good evening, Willy. And how are you doing now that the weather is doing better?
You know, after that weather forecast, I am doing really well.
Changed your attitude, didn't it?
It did. It did. It made my sunny disposition even cloudier.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be kind of nice for a while.
I know it.
Well, once again,
we
have an outstanding guest, and he's back for what, the fourth time?
I believe this is his fourth time, and it was only about a month ago, I guess,
right.
he was on.
It wasn't long ago.
But due to a small problem.
Technical glitch.
Yeah, a little technical glitch, which Willy caused. Unfortunately, he got cheated out of his first half hour of the show, so we have invited him back, and he was very nice to agree. And so, once again, tonight's guest is Preston Dennett. And Preston began investigating UFOs and the paranormal in 1986. It was at that time he discovered that family and friends were having dramatic, unexplained encounters. He has since investigated a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. Preston is a field investigator for the Mutual UFO Network, a ghost hunter, a paranormal researcher. He is the author of 16 books and over 100 articles on UFOs and the paranormal, and has appeared on numerous radio and TV shows, including History Channel's Deep Sea UFOs and UFO Hunters. He has taught classes on various paranormal subjects and lectures across the country. And tonight, he is right here on Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. And let us welcome once again Preston Dennett. Good evening, Preston.
Hello, Preston.
Hi, guys. Hi, Willy. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, welcome back. So nice to hear your voice.
How are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Preston, you know, you've been an investigator for MoveOn, and in the intro, Willy mentioned that family and friends had experienced, UFO sightings. Have you ever had one?
Yeah, I have. Not until I started investigating this stuff, but pretty much right after I started getting involved, I started having sightings. And I've had probably, I'm going to say, maybe 10 sightings total.
Would you care to elaborate?
It was actually this year.
Really? What happened?
I was just riding down the freeway here, the
Rosita?
freeway in Los Angeles. I'm on my way home from work, and looked up and I saw what I thought was Venus at first. I drive home this way every day, and Venus is visible in the sky. You can look at it, and I thought to myself, wow, Venus sure looks bright tonight. Because it looked almost twice its normal size. And I'm looking up thinking, wow, is that even Venus? It's not a plane. It wasn't moving. And this is, pretty much cloudless sky. And then I saw Venus was off to the left there, and this really bright object just slowly started to dim and dim and dim, and then it disappeared. It was gone. And there was nothing there. There was no plane. I don't know how to describe it.
So it didn't come back?
No, but I felt like, this was not a helicopter, not a plane, not a balloon.
Yeah.
Clearly a bright light. I mean, I don't know what's your classic, anomalous light, I guess you would call it.
It's kind of interesting because a lot of the UFO investigators, like Richard, I'm saying Boylan. Is it Doyland?
Dolan?
Dolan. There we go. Richard Dolan. After they start investigating for a while, they start getting investigated themselves. And I was wondering if that had happened to you. Do you feel that you've made contact or vice versa?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, because there has been a couple of times where I'm like, wow, this is very strange. One time I was talking about UFOs with my sister-in-law.
Uh-huh.
Worked very closely with me. She's kind of the artist, and has worked very closely with me from the beginning with my UFO investigations. And I was driving home, and this was in the evening. This was actually many years ago, and I was surprised to see this small, what I thought was a bird, honestly, at first, come swooping down in front of my windshield. I realized instantly, well, it's not a bird. It looks like a golf ball.
Whoa.
It was a glowing ball of light is what it was, about the size of a golf ball, and then it just kind of darted back and forth in front of my windshield, 3 or 4 times about, long enough for me to know for sure this wasn't a reflection or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of swooped down a little bit, took off in front of me, and up through the canopy of trees and straight up into outer space.
It almost sounds like it was toying with you.
What the heck was that?
Yeah.
Sounds like
And, that happened to me again on the freeway on the way to a UFO meeting.
Really?
Driving down the freeway, and a ball of light drops down on the sky and right in front of my windshield, and it's going back and forth.
Oh.
Wow.
And on your way to a UFO meeting, too.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's
How
interesting.
ironic.
Yeah. Like something's trying to get your attention.
Well, it makes you realize that...
that they're aware of what's going on, that I'm researching them.
Yeah, that and those that you're researching are probably telling the truth. It certainly is a good reinforcement of that idea when you have a personal experience of your own.
It is, yeah.
But do you think, Preston, that you've been actually contacted?
Well, not in the sense where I've been taken on board.
How about
I
dreams?
don't remember anything like that. I've had other sightings. So I do feel that there's some sort of relationship there or connection.
Yeah.
I did have one instance. This is not something I actually talk about a whole lot because I don't really know what happened. This could have been a dream. But I woke up because I thought I felt something walking across my bed.
Oh,
It was like a cat, kind of cat feet. And I don't have a cat, so this is impossible. And I thought I saw a very thin figure beside. I woke up, looked to the side of the bed. I thought I saw a very thin figure, and I opened my eyes, and it was gone. But it made my heart beat really fast.
Yeah.
I thought, my God, was there something there? I should have gotten up and looked, but instead I just turned over.
Went back to sleep.
You just said to yourself, oh, that's normal.
There are such things as ghost cats. I mean, Willy's had that experience.
Yeah, I had a ghost cat in my apartment for a while. It woke me up about 3 different times by jumping up on the bed, and there were no cats in the room. And I share an apartment with my brother, and it turns out that he had the same experience. So we had a ghost cat for a while.
Or it could have been little E.T.s. You never really know, but it felt like a cat, right?
Yeah, it felt like a cat. I never thought of E.T. until just now.
Oh, jeez.
Now you gave me something else to think about.
Uh-oh.
I've had some ghost experiences as well, researching ghosts.
Yeah, you've written a couple of books on ghost hunting too, haven't you?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to elaborate?
I do love these UFOs, but ghosts, out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
I even got dragged into Bigfoot, which is kind of kicking and screaming, but I found out it's definitely real.
Undoubtedly.
Okay. All right. Now that we've got onto that subject, what do you think? Is it some sort of an interdimensional creature?
I think in some cases, yeah. There's some evidence for that. Certainly there's a number of eyewitness testimonies where people have seen these things disappear or appear, and so with the ability ability to turn invisible, and what also turns up again and again is this telepathic aspect, where people feel like they can read its mind and it can read theirs.
I haven't heard that.
No, neither.
What have you come across?
Well, the first time I came across it was my own case.
Really?
In canyon country, involving a radiologist who, and this is one of those weird, bizarre cases that kind of mixes, between UFOs and Bigfoot.
Yeah.
What happened was he had this Bigfoot howling in his backyard, and the dogs were going crazy. And he had the distinct feeling that it could read his mind, and he also felt like he was reading its mind, that it was really angry about the dogs, and that there was some sort of really strong telepathic link. He kept saying this.
That's
And I'm like,
amazing.
all right. I wasn't sure what to make of it. And he said the bizarre thing was the next night, UFO landed right where that thing had been standing and howling.
Oh, that's amazing.
And he watched it. It was blue and white lights, he said, and it stayed there for a little bit. And he ran to get his glasses because he's slightly nearsighted, and that's when it took off, straight up, and gone.
I'm sorry, I didn't get where did you say that was?
That's in canyon country here in Southern California.
Oh, canyon country. Okay.
Right. Which it turns out, I did my research on this, and the canyon country has had a number of Bigfoot reports. I was surprised to learn that. And, found other cases like that, with Bigfoot, where people had not only had a UFO connection, but felt that same telepathic connection as well.
Yeah, that's just too coincidental for the UFO to have landed in that same area when the Bigfoot was protesting the dogs. I haven't heard. That's interesting.
I'm going to say 80% of the Bigfoot cases don't seem to have that connection. Maybe even 90%. They just seem to be your average, well, not certainly not average, but an animal, roaming the wilderness and just very elusive.
I had not heard of that connection. That's really neat.
No,
that the psychic connection.
I hadn't either.
And you haven't spotted one yourself, right, Preston? A Bigfoot? Or have you?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was talking to this lady who, she called me up and said that she was having some problems with Bigfoot coming up to her house.
Really?
So she had a pretty, powerful testimony. She had other witnesses. And what she said was it first started with this just awful howling out in the wash. She lived out in Acton. This is kind of on the edge of the Los Angeles National Forest, which it turns out, again, is a vast, vast area and has a reputation for Bigfoot activity. I mean, there are several other reports coming out of there regularly.
Yeah.
And so she's telling me this, and she says, and it got worse. It came right up to her house, and she saw it looking in through the window.
Oh, my.
And on that same night, her roommate, who was in the next room, also saw it looking in his window. And the kid said it climbed the tree and broke a branch, and sure enough, it did. The tree, a very small tree next to their house, was cracked, a big branch right off. And she showed me that. And she said the weirdest thing was when it came and it took a big boulder and placed it on the top of her house.
Oh, no.
And, it turns out that Bigfoot have this thing with rock throwing, and it's a pretty common thing even among a lot of primates. And certainly that happened with her case in an extreme example. It took two guys to get this rock off their roof.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, that's
a boulder on the roof.
Connection too. So how I wanted to end this is like she says, I think it's, if you wanted to see it, we could go out there and see if it's there, because I think I know where it lives, which is not far from her house. And that's what we did. We drove up a couple of miles away, off into the forest there, and at night, it was early in the evening, and she said, it's right up in this valley somewhere. And no sooner had we gotten out of the car, honest to God, we hear this low, very loud growling, very loud, actually, coming from a distance up where she had just pointed. And it went on for about 5 seconds. It was a long, low growl. I'm looking around trying to figure out where it's coming from. And then it happened again. And I'm like, wow, this was not like anything I'd ever heard.
Probably because you didn't wait for an invitation, Preston. You didn't get invited. But go ahead. What happened?
It was certainly something I'd never heard before. I couldn't identify it.
Was it frightening?
No, I imagine it was angry, if anything, but I don't know. I know that the witness she was frightened and she wanted to get back in the car immediately, and I personally wanted to run towards it and see if we could get closer, because we had all sorts of equipment. We had sound equipment, we had film, and
did you get any of it on
really
tape?
Frightened by it, and she felt like it was harassing her a little bit.
Oh.
In fact, she asked me, is there any cases of people being kidnapped by Bigfoot? I'm like, oh, no, that never happened. But I did my research and found out, there's like 10, 20 more cases of people being, picked up by Bigfoot and kidnapped to various degrees.
I've heard that, too, especially women. Women and children.
I hadn't heard that part of it, no.
Right, yeah. In many cases of women, there are several of men. Hunters being picked up and held captive for days even.
Really?
Escaping. So,
gosh, that's kind of frightening.
She felt like she was in danger of that. And I'm like, no, I hadn't heard of that.
I guess it's the first time for everything.
Her, there are cases.
Well, you made her feel better anyway.
Well, I had sort of a practical question I wanted to ask you. Some of your tales go back to the 1800s, and I was curious as to, do you have to do research to find these, like looking up the state of Nevada and then getting some of these old stories?
Yeah, it's really exciting when you can find an old report, because researching UFOs, for example, for UFOs over Nevada, I go through all the literature that I can find, and I start there, with other researchers and wherever I can go to get valid UFO information.
Yeah, you've got one that goes back to May 27th, 1897, when they saw a glowing humanoid. That's unusual. I mean, that far back.
Exactly. You don't have a lot of records of paranormal happening
so
far back.
So what'd you do? Go to the...
You find one. That's a good one, involving police officers actually who observed this glowing humanoid and saw it clearly. So, and hard to say what to make of it, but
he did say it was phosphorescent.
UFO counts in a lot of ways.
He said it was phosphorescent, didn't he?
Excuse me?
Phosphorescent.
Yeah, phosphorescent and glowing.
I was thinking maybe green, because I kind of saw the same sort of thing, that phosphorescent green glowing. Anyway, creepy, and it's been going on for quite some time. I mean, that's really good evidence of it. There were so many neat things that I wanted to talk about tonight from UFOs over Nevada. Of course, Area 51. And I was hoping maybe to get to that in the latter part of the hour. But how about the story about the reptilian, the kids that go to the cave?
Yes.
That was really fascinating.
Right. You don't hear a lot of reptilian accounts.
No.
Not as common as grays or anything like that. But this is a really interesting account in which two kids were just exploring, like a lot of people do, in an area that they did not know, had a pretty creepy reputation for UFO sightings and things like this. And they come upon this strange cave, which had clearly been, had evidence of people going in it. There was a little ladder and stuff going down there. But what's really interesting is they heard noises while they were down there, and they came upon this strange artifact, a metal tube-like thing with figures on it, kind of etched into it.
Mm-hmm.
And they picked it up being, the kind of people they are. And this is, as I recall, it evolved from there where this reptilian appeared and scared the living daylights out of them.
It chased them.
Right. And chased them, actually. And they held on to the artifact, and I think that's why it was chasing them.
I think so, too.
And they chased them basically all the way to their home.
And it was a trailer, right?
Right. And their mother's like, what's going on? Oh, no, you must have seen someone in a costume. But she soon saw her kids were totally serious.
Saying there's a monster outside.
Right. She's like, no, didn't know quite what to make of it. But that's when, it actually came and to the house and walking around the house, and she saw it as well. So it was a pretty intense encounter. They returned the item that it was clearly after, and that seemed to appease it.
Well, the mother got a really good look at it because it was trying to break into the son's bedroom window in the trailer. And then she picked up, what was it, the lamp, and shined it in its eyes. And she saw it fully clear.
Yeah. And decided.
And it stared back at her.
Yeah, and discovered the next day that the bottom of the window was 6 feet off the ground.
That's
so
right.
It had to be a good 7 feet to look in the window, right?
Yeah, what makes this case so impressive, too, is it's not just her witnessing this, it's her whole family.
Yeah.
They're all seeing this clearly. There's no hypnosis or anything like this involved. This is a full-on
They're wide awake.
encounter with clearly a non-human entity. And marvelously detailed is the lady saw it, Charlene, I think was the name.
Was it Hindle?
That sounds right, Hindle.
I think it was Hindle.
I left my book over there. I can't reach it.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, a truly incredible encounter.
Do you have any thoughts at all as to what the object might have been that the kids picked up?
I wondered about that. My guess is that there is some technology embedded into it that we don't understand, and just because it appears to be a solid metal object, we don't know if it was hollow or not.
Right.
Yeah, that's
we
true.
don't know if it had the ability to, it could have been a gun, could have been all kinds of things.
I was thinking it had something to do with a metal door that the kids found in the cave. Some way to open up the door, a device to open the door. It was close to the door.
That's a possibility. We can only speculate.
Yeah. And the other creepy factor was the kids are going deeper and deeper into the cave. There was not only the ladder there, but then they start hearing voices, and then they start hearing machinery. So there's some kind of installation or living quarters deeper into the cave. I mean, the whole idea is really frightening. And this is what, near Henderson, Nevada, it happened in a cave at Black Mountain. Really creepy.
So they could be living right under there, doing all this stuff.
I know it. It kind of makes you think about the Taos, New Mexico. That, people, they're trying to tell people that they're crazy, that they're not really hearing this hum. And I really think that there's something going on underground. That's New Mexico, of course, but that's what it reminded me of.
I haven't heard of that.
The Taos hum?
Right. Oh, I know about that. That's been measured scientifically, the Taos hum. There's no doubt that it's real.
That is real. Very creepy.
Coming from underground, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, the same sort of arrangement like Dulce, New Mexico, and then Area 51. Although we don't know entirely what's going on there.
Well, remember, Area 51 doesn't exist.
That's right.
But we can get to that after
We're
the
talking
bottom
about
of the
a
hour,
dream.
right?
Yes, we can. What about the remote viewers, Preston? I thought that account was fascinating on what actually is happening at Area 51.
Right.
Oh,
and that's, I think, something a lot of people haven't heard about. We've certainly heard about, Bob Lazar.
That's right.
Kind of the framework for Area 51. And he came out and explained all these reverse engineering activities that were going on there. And following that, a lot of other people came out, and we've had testimonies brought forth by Wendell Stevens. He found some witnesses, did Bill Hamilton and other researchers. There's been a lot of people supporting this, saying that there's all kinds of research going on there into UFOs, and that space has multiple levels and things like this.
Yeah.
But what I found a very interesting experiment, which was conducted by one of the editors of Fate magazine, and they asked all their readers to try to remote view Area 51 or have an out-of-body experience or a psychic impression, do whatever they could, however they get their information, to see what they could find out psychically about what's going on here at this super secret base. And the results were really surprising. They got many responders. Turned out all of them were women, which I found interesting. And
Very similar.
Right. Case after case, they described pretty much the same thing. They said that the upper levels of the base dealt with reverse engineering, while the lower levels dealt with other types of experiments, such as genetics and things like this, chemical warfare, and so on. And some said that the ETs appeared to be aware of them and were really angry about it. Others did not sense that. What I found most fascinating was something I'd actually never heard of, and really kind of sent chills down my spine when I heard it, because several of the respondents said the same thing, is that some of the employees who work at Area 51 have been genetically enhanced or altered by the ETs.
Yeah.
So that was like, wow, what is, because I've never heard anything quite like that. Here we've got several thousands of people who responded saying this one particular detail.
Well, in thinking about that, do you think that they had been genetically modified as already a human being, or do you think it was done with the genetics before they were born? Do you think they are first generation people there at Area 51, or do you think they were worked on while they were adults?
Well, that's a good question. I got the impression that they were worked on when they were adults.
Yeah.
One lady specifically said that workers had been altered so that they could live much, much longer than the average human, well over 100 years.
That's right. That it stepped up the metabolism, so that there was no resistance in their system.
Long enough to genetically manipulate people from birth, and the fact that they are so interested in pregnancy, case after case, involving pregnant women or newly born babies, indicates they've been around birth and certainly are interested in it.
If that's a very creepy idea to know that we're being genetically manipulated, or at least it's possible and that it's happening. I'm not saying necessarily that it's widespread, but definitely there. They've done a lot of experimentation. In fact, some of those levels deal exclusively with medical and genetic experimentation, and it's really frightening. Maybe if you know any more about that, Preston, we can get into that in the second half of the hour. It's now at the bottom of the hour, so we're going to take a quick break, and we can talk about that hopefully when we come back. If not, there's fodder for more conversation about Area 51.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll be back in just a couple of minutes, Preston. Supernatural Magazine, the UK's newest paranormal magazine, provides support to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience. It is the magazine's goal to bring every aspect of supernatural news and research from around the world under one roof to create a universal platform for all those interested in the supernatural. More information is available at supernaturalmagazine.com. You are listening to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience on WSCA 106.1 FM, and we'll be right back after this short break.
to Spirit Radio, the Paranormal Experience, on WSCA 106.1 FM in Portsmouth's West End. And I want to mention that music that we were just listening to was from our friend Merle Fankhauser from California, and those strange sounds were recorded from a supposed underwater UFO base off the coast of Malibu, California.
Yeah. 6 miles off the coast.
And be interesting when we get Preston back on to see if he is aware of that. Maybe he can add something to that.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Okay, so upcoming guests. Upcoming guests?
Oh, upcoming guests, yes. Wasn't sure what you said there.
No, okay.
All right, on May 9th, we can expect to be talking to Ken Gerhardt. It's going to be his first visit to Spirit Radio, and his specialty is cryptozoology. And his newly released book is entitled Encounters with Flying Humanoids, which includes testimonies about the Mothman, man-birds, gargoyles, and other winged beasts. May 16th, we're welcoming Brad Olson back, and he'll be discussing Sacred Places Europe, 108 destinations. May 23rd, we're welcoming Steve Parsons. He's the creator of Parascience, and he's going to be joining us from England to discuss his latest book, which is co-written with Cal Cooper, focusing on infrasound as applied to paranormal investigations. May 30th, we have a firm booking right now with Wes S. Nickerson III, and we're going to be discussing ghosts and curses of Hollywood. And Wes is a former writer for the HBO series Entourage, and currently he's a writer-producer on Showtime's House of Lies. June 6th is a new booking, and we're welcoming Trish Lesage, and she is interested in time slips, dimensions, and past lives. June 13th, another new guest. This is going to be Artie Six Killer Clark, and she's going to be talking to us about her latest book, Sky. It's about sky ancestors and how all different Native American elders have legends that they're connected to the stars. And then June 20th, we're welcoming back Shane Serwa from True Ghost Paranormal Investigations. And he's going to be joining us along with Paul and Ben Eno. And we're going to be discussing Litchfield, Connecticut, and the hauntings that go on in this particular triangular piece of land. And Bill Hall is writing a book about this. But all of these people, Shane, Paul, and Ben, are all included in this book. So that's going to be our special 2-hour show on the 20th of June. So that about wraps up the upcoming guest list for the time being.
All right. And so now, shall we go back to the phones for tonight's guest?
Let's not keep him any longer waiting.
That's right. Preston, welcome back.
Welcome back, Preston.
I don't know. Were you able to hear the music that we were playing there? Are you familiar at all with the undersea UFO base off Malibu?
Yeah. I'm one of the main researchers into the underwater activity in this area.
Are you now?
Oh, okay. Are you familiar with Merle Fankhauser? He had the recording of the strange noises from under the sea there, and he put it to music.
Strange noises I'm not aware of, no.
It's incorporated into that song.
Yeah.
Some of the signals that supposedly come from that underwater base.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't heard of this, but certainly I've collected more than 50 reports of ocean-going USOs in this one area, and wrote an article for Fate magazine and a chapter in one of my books about all the activity that's going on in this area.
Oh, okay.
Very interesting.
Oh, it's super active. Case after case. There was one case of a guy who's up there at the northern end, and he's seeing these shapes go under his boat, and he thought, are these whales? What is this? That's what he first thought. But then one came close, and he thought, no, it was circular shaped, it was gray, and it was saucer shaped. It was a UFO, a USO, rather.
Yeah,
and,
submergible.
Moving under the boat really quickly with no noise, making no waves or anything like that.
How large was his boat?
There was a whole lot of them down there.
How large was that boat, Preston?
It was just a small boat. This wasn't a cruise ship or anything like that. No, just I don't have the exact dimensions, but I believe it was about 20 or 30 feet.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it's a rowboat or a cruise ship. So when you're dealing with a UFO or a whale and you're in a rowboat, it's kind of scary.
No, he wasn't in a kayak or anything.
Oh, that's
like
good.
That. This is your average kind of I guess yacht. I would call it like.
Yeah.
Not a big boat.
There's a lot of activities supposed to be happening out there right off the coast of Malibu. But anyway, getting back to Area 51, relative to what we were just saying, I'm taking a quote from the book that we were talking about humans having been genetically manipulated, and you say that they've been mated with robotic parts that perform vital functions until these people are nearly immortal. And this woman goes on to say that there have been many hybridization and genetic experiments to make people adaptable to other planets.
Right.
That's incredible.
That's spooky.
It is spooky. And the other thing you...
Really crazy stuff going down in on that base. And there are reports of aliens working, many reports of ETs working with humans.
Yeah.
So there's no doubt that some of that sort of stuff is going on.
Oh, I definitely think it's going on. Also, too, what I didn't quite understand is the ETs, as you mentioned, could detect the presence of these remote viewers. And one man writes, his name is Nelson, they know that I and others are here. There is anger, malice, meanness, and a frustrated inability to stop us. And I'm wondering, it must be... I don't know, part of their psyche is actually present when they do this remote viewing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Remote viewing. I was actually able to do this myself. I know how this sounds, but I was
Really?
involved in out-of-body exploring.
So that is what it is, huh?
Right. And so if you go with the intention of going there, you can actually visit it. And I was able to do that once myself. I found myself out of body. I thought, what was it I wanted to do? And I called out, to see the base. Now I go to Area 51, and I kind of went through this little tunnel-like thing. Something pulled at my body, and I went upwards, floated over the house for a little while, and pushed really fast, and boom, I'm popping out over Area 51. And
Really?
Well, that's what I saw. I can only verify what I saw, which is these buildings, right there on Groom Lake is what it looked like. They were very widely spaced. I was kind of surprised about that. I saw some people walking around in military uniforms. I thought to myself, my gosh, I really did it. I did it. So, which wasn't too surprising. I had actually been having a number of out-of-body experiences at that time. So I was like, wow, this is amazing. And at this point, to be honest, I grew a little frightened. So I thought to myself, well, there are probably aliens here, and I wonder if they can see me, is what I thought.
Uh-huh.
So that was enough to draw me back.
Really?
So I know what these guys are talking about. I've done a lot of this out-of-body stuff. It's definitely possible to do. And you can sense stuff as if you were actually there. It's almost impossible to move objects or anything like that unless you're super advanced at it. Certainly I haven't been able to do anything like that.
Did you take some kind of training to learn how to do that, Preston?
Me personally, I self-trained. I read all the books, all the exercises, and just really, doggedly pursued it. But there are places you can go, like the Monroe Institute, which teaches people how to do this. And in fact, there's really quite a bit of literature out there on how to do this. I would recommend my own book, which kind of is an introduction to the subject, and has teaches people how to do it in a simple way, and provides all kinds of experiments that they can do.
And that was one of your books, you said?
Yeah, out-of-body exploring. It's the only book
Out-of-body
I've ever written
exploring?
that's autobiographical in any way.
Wow, I would just be kind of concerned about getting back, but I guess
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, maybe you just thinking of something physical kind of pulls you back into your body again. How do you will yourself back?
Getting back isn't the problem. Staying out is very, very easy to get back, and happens automatically. We all have what's known as the silver cord.
Yeah.
pulls us right back.
Yeah.
And even the least fear or excitement or anything like that can pull you back, or thinking about the physical body will draw you back, or moving your toes or opening your eyes or anything like that.
Yeah, I have to ask, what when you're doing this, what does it actually feel like? Does it feel like you're physically there, or does it feel like you just
Like you're a pair of eyes.
It's different for all people. Remote viewing is slightly different. That's more like a meditation where you get images in your mind. Whereas with out-of-body experiences, you feel like you're physically there. You don't feel physical. You feel very light. You can walk through walls. You can fly. You can move very quickly.
It really is astral projection then, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's what it is. We all have not only our physical body, but a dream body, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
Astral body. And for that matter, we have bodies that are finer than the astral body, the causal body, the akashic body, and other bodies that go up into the higher dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole other show.
But apparently what the ETs were detecting was the astral body, and they had no defense against that. There was nothing they could do about it.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah, that level of energy they couldn't deal with.
Right. I think this is one of the reasons that they're so fascinated with us as a species.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't do this. I don't know, but certainly they seem surprised by it.
There is a comment in here that I was going to mention here tonight, that they find us fascinating because we're very unusual. Before the night's over, I'll see if I can't find the passage. But we were talking about the different levels at Area 51. And levels 8, 9, and 10, says Gourlay, I guess it was one of the remote viewers, were devoted to experimentation of germ warfare and deadly gases. And that, of course, she felt that some of the employees of the base were genetically enhanced by the aliens. That is very frightening to think that they're working on stuff like that, deadly warfare and germs. And
right, and apparently this is not the only place.
I know.
One thing I did learn about Area 51 from 3 different sources. People contacted me, and they read about it, is that there are large tunnels leading from Area 51 to places like Edwards Air Force Base
Mm-hmm.
and other areas. And it's largely tunneled out, huge tunnels.
oh the underground?
Yes, the base does go many levels down, and the deeper you go, the more it is populated by ETs.
The tunnels, are you talking about the underground railroad tunnels that go between the different underground bases?
Right. Well, I'm not sure if they're railroad or maglev or what exactly they are.
Yeah, well, some kind of transportation tunnels.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I've heard this from several different sources.
Yeah.
So there's an underground city basically going on.
That there are several, in different places across the United States, that there are, even the world.
Yeah, but Area 51, people said, oh, it's not active still. No, it's still active.
I know
There's
it
stuff
is.
going on there to this day.
Yeah, you have to wonder if it's not active or if it doesn't exist. Why is it a no-fly zone?
Yeah.
And why did the government buy 80,000 extra acres of land so that nobody could get close enough to see anything?
Yeah, see nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing to see, but let's
okay.
make sure that they don't see nothing.
Yeah, we all believe that one, right?
Right. There's one interesting case of a lady who was flying with her husband, who it turned out worked in classified projects. And for some reason, the plane that they were on, which was pretty much unoccupied, which was very strange for it's a large jet, but for them, landed apparently at Area 51, because she looks out the window while her husband is asleep and sees all these buildings and this dry lake bed, and lo and behold, there's this saucer, this UFO, which looked alien in all respects, except for one thing. It had, Air Force logos on it. And she's trying to wake up her husband. Finally she does, and she starts to talk to him, and he becomes very upset. And says, you cannot talk about this. This is confidential.
Weren't they in the Grand Canyon? Didn't they land in the Grand Canyon and wasn't there a hangar there? Isn't that what that
Right.
story is?
She wasn't sure where they landed, but it turned out, they were right over that area. So, but apparently, it was some base in Nevada.
Hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
probably it was Nellis, because that's the largest one, though there are others.
Have you by any chance heard of Dr. Frank Strange's?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I absolutely have. I met him several times,
Did you?
and found him to be certainly a sincere gentleman and very kind to me. I know he's now deceased.
Yes, he is. Yes.
But,
But were you aware of his book, Stranger at the Pentagon and Valiant Thor? That story?
yes.
Okay, well, the reason I bring that up is relative to Nevada. According to Valiant Thor, who is supposed to be, by the way, a Venusian who comes from the interior of the planet Venus, that his race developed the Victor 1 interdimensional class spacecraft. And this was specifically built so that they could disarm U.S. weapons. And he says, as of early December 1988, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong place here. It was built right around the time of World War II so that they could disarm the weapons. I was just going to give you the location of it. Hang on. They began developing this class in 1951 following the first atomic bomb test in New Mexico, which took place on July 16, 1945, and then the Hiroshima bomb, August 6, 1945. And they built it so that this particular craft, the Victor 1, can disable any electronic device, thus rendering chaos to any attempt at full-scale conventional weapon war. And they have done this, apparently, several times, twice with USSR nuclear tests in 1971, and then 7 times they've stopped this for a nuclear reaction in the United States, 7 times. And he goes on to explain that they disarm, they make inert an isotope in the radioactive material so that the critical mass will not initiate a fission chain reaction so that the atomic explosion does not take place. And the reason I mention that is there's supposed to be one of these Victor 1 craft stationed in Nevada in the air. The location is just south of the Las Vegas Wash, about a mile northeast of the junction of Highway 147 and 166. And the point is, they're monitoring what's going on at Nellis and Area 51, Nellis Air Force Base. Had you heard about that, Preston?
No, I haven't, but there's certainly a lot of cases like this. There was one case where there was a guard at Nellis Air Force Base, and suddenly their base became flooded by reports of UFO activity in Las Vegas. And they were like, look out the window, do you see anything? And they're like, no, we see nothing. Then lo and behold, here comes this saucer, this object, which comes flying along in full view and comes right up, only a few hundred feet away, 200 feet off the ground, the officer said, and stayed right over the runway there for about 20 minutes in full view. So there's no doubt that the UFOs are very interested in our military bases and in Nellis in particular.
Yeah, and there's the indication that we are being monitored, that they've got a total of 280 craft across the world, but they've got, I think, like 84 of these somewhere in the United States. And they're focusing on Air Force bases where there are nuclear reactors or anything to do with nuclear.
Okay, and we only have about 3 minutes left, Preston. We're coming to the end of the hour
UFOs
quickly
are all
again.
about the nuclear stuff. And there's a case over New York involving Indian Head nuclear power station, which UFOs were hovering over one of the reactors there that had some faults in it that they weren't aware of. So it's very interesting that they're watching this whole situation very closely.
Yeah, I think
I wonder what they're doing about Fukushima.
Yeah. Yeah, and out there in Syria, I'm hoping that they're going to be our fail-safe, our watchdogs, that nothing nuclear takes place.
Somebody has
they've
to.
got, yeah, somebody has to. I mean, there was the blackout in 1965, in November of 65, and then there was another one. Oh, I just had it down here too, in Nevada. But you know what, Preston, we're just at the end of our time again.
Ah,
Would you like to tell us about your website? And you've got UFOs over Nevada. We can buy that on your website, right?
right. My website has all my books. If you want to look it up, just put in my name on Google, or the actual address is PrestonDennett.weebly.com. I've got excerpts there of all my books. You can also find them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, bookstores, of course.
Okay.
All right. Do you have any events or anything coming up that you would like to mention?
Yeah, I'll be speaking for MUFON in September.
Where?
Super excited about that. I'll be talking about, is there an undersea base off the Malibu coast?
Oh,
Like I told you guys, I've been researching that
Yeah.
particular subject for a long time.
but where are you speaking?
This is down in Orange County. I don't have the exact location, but
They can find it on your website.
yeah, find on the
it's
website.
the major MUFON conference. You can
When you coming east?
Yeah, when are you coming to
one of these days
Boston?
I'm going to have to, right?
Yeah, we got to meet you one of these days.
Yeah, at this point I don't have any plans, but
Okay.
one
Yeah.
of these days I'm going to have to find time.
Well, we'll have to develop a reason for you to come. Okay, Preston, thank you so much again. It's always so interesting and enjoyable. Thank you.
Thank you very
My
much,
pleasure.
Preston.
Thanks very
Thank
much
you.
for inviting me.
All right.
Bye.
And
Good night.
Have a good night. Thank you. All right. Spirit Radio, the paranormal experience. And I guess that pretty much wraps up tonight.
Yes, and everyone have a good night, and thank you so much for listening.